all of us. Conversations about mental health. We hear about mental health more than ever, right? But how do we actually talk about it in a way that helps and supports? What are the right things to say? And maybe even more important, what should we absolutely avoid saying? And to help us navigate this topic, I'm joined by Sarah, our expert guide today. Ready to unpack this, Sarah?
Absolutely, Mike. Excited to get into this. It's something we all experience, but sometimes we just don't know what to say, you know?
I know what you mean. So let's just start with the basics. What exactly high-ESIS mental health? We hear terms like mental health, mental illness, mental wellness all the time. Are they all the same thing?
That's a great question, Mike. And yeah, you're right. Those terms do get mixed up a lot, but there are some differences. Think of mental health as the big umbrella. It's really about our overall psychological well-being, how we think, feel, and behave, our emotional, psychological, and social well-being.
There's more than just not having a mental illness.
Yeah, exactly. Mental illness is more about diagnosable conditions that really kind of mess with how a person thinks, feels, and acts. These are things like depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, those kinds of clinical disorders.
Okay, I got it. So where does mental wellness fit in then?
Mental wellness is about actively trying to have good mental health. It's about building resilience, coping skills, having a sense of purpose. And it's important to remember that even people with mental illness can still have a high level of mental wellness.
That's really good to hear. It means that no matter what, we can all improve our mental well-being.
Right. And you know what's interesting? Research shows that if we work on our mental wellness, we might actually lower our chances of getting mental illnesses, like depression and anxiety. It's like we're being proactive and taking care of our mental health.
That's a really good point. It's like preventative care for our minds, just like we do for our bodies. It makes you realize how important those daily habits are for our well-being.
Totally agree. And I think everyone can relate to feeling stressed or down sometimes. So how do we know when it's just a bad day or something more serious?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think we've all been there wondering if we're overreacting or if something's actually wrong.
Well, it's important to remember that mental wellness is on a spectrum. You know, we all have ups and downs. It's normal to feel stressed or sad or anxious sometimes.
So how do we know when we should get professional help?
There are a few warning signs. If your mood, sleep appetite, or energy levels change a lot and it lasts for more than 2 weeks, it's a good idea to talk to a mental health professional. And of course, if you're thinking about hurting yourself or others, you need to get help right away.
That makes sense. It's about noticing when those normal ups and downs become more intense or last longer. It's also really important to remember that getting help is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Exactly. It means you're taking care of yourself.
Well said. Okay, so now we kind of understand mental health better. Let's talk about those conversations about it. You know, those conversations that can be awkward or just hard. It's like you want to be there for someone, but you're so scared of saying the wrong thing.
I hear that fear a lot, Mike. It's super common. Just remember that wanting to have the conversation at all shows you care. That's a big first step.
Okay, that's good to hear. But what happens when you just freeze up? You know, you want to say something supportive, but the words won't come out.
It's all about making a safe space where the person doesn't feel judged. Sometimes just being there and listening without judgment is the most supportive thing you can do. You don't have to have all the answers.
How do you make that safe space? What does that actually look like?
Choose a comfy private spot where you won't be interrupted. Maybe suggest doing something together while you talk, like going for a walk or having tea. It takes the pressure off and makes the conversation more natural.
I love that. It's like you're showing support just by being there and doing something together.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of just being there for someone. Sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can offer.
That's a good reminder. Okay, so let's say someone does open up to me. That feels like a whole other challenge. What do I do then? What are the best ways to respond when someone shares their mental health struggles with me?
One of the most valuable things you can do is active listening. This means really focusing on what the person is saying without interrupting or jumping in with solutions.
Wait, so hold back on the fix-it instincts.
Yeah.
Even if I think I have the perfect solution.
It's tempting, but try to resist. At this point, the person needs to feel heard and understood, not fixed. Let them share without feeling like they have to defend their feelings.
Okay, I see that. But how do I show them I'm listening and not just zoning out?
There are some simple phrases you can use to reflect back what you're hearing. Like you could say, "It sounds like you're going through a lot right now," or "I can't imagine how difficult that must be."
Those are great. They're way less intimidating than trying to come up with some profound advice.
And sometimes just asking, what can I do to support you right now, can be really powerful. It shows you're there for them and willing to help however they need.
That's true. It puts the focus back on what they need in that moment. This has been so helpful, Sarah. But before we move on, there's one thing I have to ask. What are some of the worst things you can say to someone who is struggling with their mental health? You know, those well-meaning but awful comments that probably hurt more than help.
Oh, we've all heard those, right? Things like, just snap out of it, or everyone feels that way sometimes. Those completely dismiss the person's experience. It's like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That puts it into perspective.
And comparing mental health struggles to small problems makes it seem like their feelings aren't important.
So what should we say instead? How can we actually make a difference with our words?
It all goes back to validation and empathy. Instead of trying to fix the problem, focus on acknowledging their feelings and showing that you understand.
Can you give me some examples?
Sure, instead of just snap out of it, you could say, I hear how much you're hurting, and I want you to know I'm here for you. Or instead of, everyone feels that way sometimes, try. It's understandable that you're feeling this way given what you're going through.
Those are so much better. You know, I'm curious. What if someone isn't ready to open up? How do you even start that conversation?
That's a really good point. You know, it's so important to be sensitive and respectful when you're starting these conversations. You can start by just saying that you're concerned. Like, hey, I've noticed you seem a little down lately. Is there anything you want to talk about? Or how are you really doing? You know?
No, those are good. They're open-ended and don't pressure someone to share. But what if they still don't want to talk? Or say they're fine when they're clearly not?
Yeah.
I would feel like I was making things worse.
You're not alone in feeling that way. The important thing is to respect their boundaries. Let them know you're there when they're ready. You could say something like, I get it if you don't want to talk now, but just know I'm here for you whenever you need me.
That feels so much better than giving up or avoiding the conversation altogether. It's interesting, though. We've been talking about adults, but what about kids? How do you talk to kids about mental health in a way that makes sense for their age and is helpful?
That's a great question, Mike, and it's so important to start these conversations early. Children have all sorts of emotions just like adults do, and we need to give them the tools to understand and manage those feelings.
That makes sense. But where do you even begin? Kids don't always have the words to say how they're feeling, right?
Exactly. It's all about making a safe space where they feel okay sharing without being judged. You can start by asking open-ended questions about their day.
Like, how was school today?
Yeah, exactly. But take it a step further and ask about how they felt. You could say, what was the best part of your day? Or did anything make you feel sad or frustrated today?
I like that. Those questions make it okay to talk about all kinds of feelings, not just the good ones.
That's exactly it. We want kids to know that all feelings are okay, that it's normal to have lots of different emotions.
Okay, that makes sense. How do you explain mental health to a kid, though, in a way they can understand?
You can use simple comparisons. Like, you could say, just like our bodies can get sick, sometimes our minds can feel unwell too. And just like we go to the doctor when our body is sick, we can talk to someone when our mind needs help.
That's a great comparison. It makes it so much easier for a kid to understand.
And remember, talking about mental health is an ongoing thing. Don't wait for a crisis to come up. Make it a regular part of your conversations with your kids.
So it's about normalizing those conversations early on and making it comfortable for kids to share their feelings.
Yes. And when we show kids that it's okay to talk about our own emotions, it helps them feel more comfortable doing the same.
This has been so helpful, Sarah. I feel like I'm starting to get how to have these conversations in a way that's really helpful and supportive. But let's be real. Sometimes it's about more than just talking, right?
You're absolutely right, Mike. Conversations are super important, but they're just one part of the whole picture. Supporting mental wellness also means taking care of ourselves in a holistic way.
So what are some practical things we can do to boost our mental well-being besides talking? I'm always looking for things that actually work.
Well, remember how we talked about connection before? Nurturing our social connections is super important for our mental health. Spending time with people we love, doing things we enjoy, being part of our communities, all these can have a huge impact on how we feel.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about having those positive connections that make us feel like we belong and have a purpose. What about things we can do on our own to support our mental health?
There are so many simple things that are proven to make a difference. Like studies show that being in nature can reduce stress and make us feel better. Even a short walk in the park can be calming.
I totally agree. Nature has this amazing way of grounding us and putting things in perspective. What else can we try? I'm always up for new ideas.
Getting enough sleep is super important. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of good sleep every night. Our brains need that time to rest and recharge. And of course, regular exercise is a great way to lift our mood, reduce stress, and sleep better.
It's incredible how these small, everyday things can have such a big impact on our mental well-being. It's a good reminder that self-care isn't selfish. It's really important. You know, speaking of self-care, I've always wondered about things that are often seen as vices or bad habits, like drinking alcohol, smoking, or using drugs. How do those affect our mental health? And do you have any tips for navigating those areas?
That's a really important question, Mike, and it's one that needs a careful answer. It's crucial to understand that while things like alcohol, cigarettes, or drugs might make you feel better temporarily, in the long run, they actually hurt your mental health.
So it's like a quick fix that leads to bigger problems later.
Exactly. For example, alcohol is a depressant, so while it might relax you or make you feel more social at first, it actually messes with the balance of chemicals in your brain. And that can lead to more anxiety, a worse mood, and even trouble sleeping over time.
Wow, I didn't realize it had such a big impact. So even if it feels good in the moment, it's actually setting you up for more problems later on.
That's right. And the same goes for smoking and drug use. These substances can take over your brain's reward system, leading to cravings, dependence, and a cycle of addiction that can be really hard to break.
That's kind of scary, to be honest.
Yeah.
So if someone's using substances to cope with stress or difficult emotions, what are some healthier ways to deal with those things?
There are so many. Remember all those great self-care practices we talked about earlier? Those are fantastic places to start. Things like exercise, spending time in nature, getting enough sleep, and nurturing our social connections are all powerful ways to manage stress and improve our mood without using substances.
Okay, so it's about replacing those unhealthy coping mechanisms with healthy ones. It sounds simple in theory, but I bet it's harder to actually do.
You're right. It's not always easy. But if you're struggling with substance use or addiction, it's so important to reach out for professional help. There are lots of resources out there to support you on your journey to recovery.
That's good to know. It's a reminder that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. This conversation has been so insightful, Sarah. I feel like I have a much deeper understanding of mental health and well-being now. But I'm curious, what about those of us who maybe don't have diagnosable mental illness, but still want to improve our mental wellness? Are there any specific tips or things we could do to help us feel happier, build resilience, and just enjoy life more?
That's a great question. And you know what, you're right. Mental wellness is for everyone, not just people who are struggling. It's about taking care of our mental health and making ourselves stronger.
So it's like being proactive about our mental health.
Exactly. And there are tons of amazing things we can do every day to boost our mental wellness. One of my favorites is practicing gratitude.
Gratitude. How does that help our mental health?
Studies show that if we focus on what we're grateful for, it can really change our mood outlook, even how we feel overall. It helps us shift away from negative thoughts and appreciate the good things, even when things are tough.
It's like training our brains to look for the positive.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You can just take a few minutes each day to think about things you're thankful for. It could be something as simple as a sunny day, a good meal, a nice thing someone did for you.
Okay, I could try that. What are some other easy things we can do every day?
Mindfulness is another great tool. It's about being present in the moment without judging our thoughts and feelings. It helps us become more aware of what's going on inside so we can handle things better instead of letting our emotions take over.
So it's about being here and now, not stuck in the past or worried about the future.
Exactly. And there are lots of easy ways to practice mindfulness throughout the day. You can focus on your breath, notice how your body feels, or just look around and be curious about what you see.
Those sound pretty easy. I'm starting to see how we can fit these practices into our life without making huge changes.
That's the best part. Mental wellness isn't about being perfect or adding a ton of things to our to-do list. It's about finding small ways to care for ourselves even when we're busy.
I love that. It's about finding those little moments of joy and self-care throughout the day. This has been such a fantastic deep dive, Sarah. I feel like I've learned so much about how to talk about mental health and take care of my own well-being. Before we wrap up, are there any last thoughts or key takeaways you want to leave our listeners with?
One of the most important things is to remember that asking for help is a good thing. It doesn't mean you're weak. It's okay to reach out for support when you need it.
I completely agree. There are so many great resources out there for people who are struggling with their mental health.
That's right. And remember, taking care of our mental health is just as important as taking care of our physical health. We need to look after both.
This has been such an insightful conversation, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
It was my pleasure. I'm so glad we had this chat.
And to all of our amazing listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into conversations about mental health. If you found this episode helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great discussions. Until next time,